Yes, sir. My name's Zakashi, guys, and in this video here, I'm going to be giving you a guide on the best teams and equipments to build around HELLFIGHTER Android 17. This guy here is a very good defensive unit, but he's mainly a support. But because he's a support, I'm calling him a defensive unit. It's not literal though. But yeah, I'm going to be showing you the best ways to build him around your team, selecting the best teams for him, and then after that we'll go into the equipment, which I actually show you for the video so that you guys can get yourself situated so you can get into PvP in the most optimal way possible. So yeah, hopefully you guys are going to enjoy this video. If you haven't already, make sure to press the subscribe button, man. We're on this grind to 40,000 subscribers. All my social media links are going to be on the bottom of the screen. This is the YouTube channel. We've got a Twitter, Twitch, Reddit, Instagram, and a Discord link all in the description below. So make sure to check me out on all of those. But yeah, I'm not trying to hold you guys up any longer. We got Android 17 here. Let's actually get into the best teams and equipments that you can put on and build around Android 17. So if you haven't seen the video that I did on LF Super Saiyan 4 Goku and Vegeta, you should probably check it because the teams are going to be quite similar, but I'm still going to go through it as if you've never seen that video just for your ease. So what I like to do is I like to sort it by element, because ideally you want to have at least one element of every unit. I mean, one unit of every element on the team so that you can color count any elements that might come your way. It's not always going to be the case that you need one unit of every element per whatever team you're building, but it's just the best way I like to sort it, because for the most part you know exactly what characters are good and what are bad based on just showcases and what's most popular at the time. Especially if you just go into PvP, you'll know. But the next thing we're going to do, we're actually going to change the filter, select sparking or ultra, and we're going to just select GT, because the main two tags that he runs, the main one being GT and the second one, you can probably use them on Androids, but if you also want to, you can build a powerful opponent team. But I think I'm going to focus on GT now, and then we'll get into another team afterwards. So with GT, you can obviously put him on the leader slot, and if you're thinking about what to build on him, you should definitely be using him with the LF Super Saiyan 4 Goku and Vegeta. You shouldn't even have to question that. They should obviously absolutely be your second option. And if you're going to build around that, you should obviously go for Zenkai buff. So I would actually select these two to actually Zenkai buff the Goku and Vegeta. You'd probably think, oh, why aren't I Zenkai buffing the the 17? I keep saying Super 17 because of this guy. That's simply because he's not going to be your main offensive unit, so you can just simply build him defensively on a low level, which we'll get into the equipment later, but focus on the actual offensive units on your team, which will be this guy. I spoke on the other video about the teams on formations. You could actually run a double green if you'd wish, and then you could double Zenkai buff both of them, so they're both getting Zenkai buff, and you can even extend that to a Zenkai buff, triple Zenkai buff, if you take off the GT tag and actually put Super Saiyan 3 Goku. But let's keep it to GT for now, because we don't need the triple Zenkai buff since we're trying to focus on the one man. So I'm going to bring it back to GT for Sparkings and Ultras. I'm going to take off this guy, and I'm going to take off this guy, and I'm going to leave it as a double Zenkai buff for now. And I'm going to just select them so you can see it like that. Then if we're going to dive into any other colors, you're probably going to want this guy, simply because he's literally the biggest ultimate dealer on GT, and nobody's topping him. And that's just as simple as that. You also might want to consider, if you want, you can Zenkai buff 17. This guy here, he actually makes the team especially strike based because of his Z ability, but then he also Zenkai buffs GT, so he's given a lot more to 17 specifically, which will actually make him a more defensive unit than he would have been before, but also giving some strike attack alongside everybody else on the team, which actually makes it work very well. I wouldn't opt in for doing any blast based units really and truly. I feel like defense is definitely the strike. Offense is strike is the way to go more than anything else. Even though this guy offers blast attack, I would say go for the strike, because most of the team revolves around strike more than anything else. The main hitters anyways. Even though this guy has more blast attack, it's not by much, as you can see. The difference isn't major. It's not like anything that great. He does get blast damage on his green card as well. But I'll also show you a blast based build that you can build. But this would be what I'd go for if I want to go for a strike based build more than anything else. You don't have to have the Zenkai buff. You could also opt in for a HP buff. So I'm going to turn into the extreme. And if you put this guy here, the Goku, you can see he has 22% to GT base health. You can actually swap them out, and then you can actually get HP for the whole team, which also works. So this is what I'd go for here if I was actually going to build a melee type team around him. But otherwise, we're going to dive into the blast-based version of this GT team. So, starting from scratch again, we got the same Android 17. I'm going to just turn off the EXs so it's easier to see. If you want to build it blast-based, I wouldn't advise doing this, but if you wanted to go Super Baby 2, he's more blast-based for sure, and he actually adds a support on the team, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend that, because then you'd be having double support. But if you put them around this character here, tag 4s, and then you can build the team blast base. That would work. You might want to add this free-to-play Goku here because he's a range type, and he would actually be an attribute to the actual base blast attack on the team, as you can see for his ability there. Very, very solid in terms of that. You probably just want to keep Goku around because his main use is the ultimate. Then you'd actually add this Goku here because he also adds blast damage through his Z ability, which works especially well. And he actually Zenkai buffs the tag 4s, which would be your main hitters on the team. This would be the other joint that I'd go with. But like I said, you don't necessarily need that double HP. I mean, the double support, sorry. So you don't need to have Super Baby 2. So if I was just to like take this guy off, I'll just confirm this for a sec so I can just like move things around easier, because I like to keep it in color order. So you can see the greens are there and you have the purple. You could still go for the HP buff like I did with the melee team. So if I go to extreme, not that one, you get the HP buff here, and it's literally the same thing, but this is more blast orientated through the Z abilities 1, 2, and then 3, focusing on the core blast that you can get on the team. This is pretty solid, and I would say if you want to go with this, go with it, but I wouldn't recommend it personally because there's a lot of blast armor units in the meta right now, and if someone's using a strike art and you use your blast arts, they're going to go through you and you're just going to lose priority. That makes you a big liability. You're just going to take a lot of damage, which is unnecessary. But as you can see, this team would work very, very well. I'm not going to lie. You can't have a Zenkai buff because this guy Zenkai buffs Vegeta clan, if you're wondering, which is unfortunate. And this guy here, he's more melee based, so it actually kind of throw off the team. As you can see here, strike attack, and then you can see he goes to 40% instead of the 40% for the blast. So that's just something, if you were thinking about it, I wouldn't necessarily recommend it at all. If you want a double Zenkai buff, still the 4 bros, you could just take out the HP buff there. But if you don't think you're ever going to use a red, because there's not a lot of yellows that are very, very strong, I want to point that out. So if you don't think you're ever going to use a red, right, you could just take him off instead, and then you can opt in for one of the guys I just subbed out. For example, the HP buff that I just used, you can put Super Baby 2 back in, whatever you think is best. Let's just look at Super Baby 2's Z ability as well. It's just defenses, so yeah. Everybody here pretty much buffs GT, and I wouldn't change a team around this. GT is literally going to be 17's best option. I don't see any other team thriving, so I'm not even going to dive into it really and truly. Literally, just keep him on GT. If you wanted to, you could maybe form a powerful opponent team, but I don't think that would be the best bet either, because you'd have to stick this guy on leader simply because he only buffs, you can see Android and GT. There's nothing there about powerful opponent, unfortunately. So yeah, this would be your blast orientation. I'd probably just stick to the HP buff more than anything else. If it's me personally, I would just stick to the HP buff because that makes your team a lot more solid. But with the strike version, you can go for the Zenkai buff against Super 17, because you'd also get the Z ability, which works for the whole team. Now we're going to go into the actual equipments, the best equipments that you can put on him. And the first one I'm going to start with is this equipment here. You're going to see I'm going to bring it up straight away. It's in my Z Plus section. Is this one here. It's very, very good. It's defenses all the way. But what I want to point out is that this equipment can be awakened. Now the awakened version, if I actually go to my equipment archive, you can see here I'm going to go to the archive, change the filter so it can fit the actual tag that we're looking for, GT, just like that, and then I'm actually going to bring it up. The difference between the awakened one is it was obviously better because you can get double on both sides. So you can see here strike blast, strike blast, strike blast defenses for all the slots, which is insane. It's an insane amount of defenses. However, it's going to be very much difficult to get. But even at base level, if you don't get a good slot on the first slot when you're actually equipment awakening, it's still better than this because you get double on each slot. You don't have to choose between the strike or the blast. You literally get both, which is actually obviously in your favor. You can get it in the Z medal and the equipment medal shop. Then obviously for the awakened version, you get it in the Zenkai Rush medal shop. But if you don't want to go for the awakened version, you could obviously use the non-awakened version, and then you can actually get strike. Or I'd advise for strike simply because they're going to be fighting a lot of strike units in the meta. Strike units are literally running the meta in most cases, and with all the blast armor in the meta, you'd actually be dealing with a lot of strikes. So you'd want to opt in for strike. But a lot of the GT units, I'm going to touch on it in the video later in the video for another equip as well, actually have a lot of blast cards that are held. So if I just point it out here, since we're here as well, just so you guys can see, if I go to my character list, you can see that a lot of the big GT guys, for some reason, they have an identity crisis and they carry one strike and one blast. Look at the tag bros there. Look at Forku here. He's probably the second main guy. One of each card for no reason. I don't know why they do that. If we look at this guy here, one of each card. They're probably the big three of GT and they carry one of each card, which doesn't make sense. So if you're going to be actually using this guy, the awakened version would obviously be better, because you'd actually be getting both strike and blast defense on every single slot, which is amazing. I think on the second slot you have to pick, I said every single slot, but you can see here effect will be selected from one of the above. So just to point that out in case that came out terribly wrong. So for most part, it's better. I'd say opt in for the strike defense on the middle slot, which is good, but it's not that massive, especially, but it is at the same time. Just, it depends on how you want to see it. Is it worth the resources to you? Let me know in the comment section below. But what you get, let's just to conclude, Z medal shop and the equipment medal shop for the actual equipment, and then for the awakening you need the Zenkai rush medals where you can exchange it there. This equipment here is really good as well because it attributes to health restoration and double defense, and you do get some strike attack out of it. I'd say this is more leaning towards the strike based team, but regardless, it doesn't really matter how you build him offensively, because the aim is to actually make him more defensive so that he can actually hold up well against any opponents that you might come up against. If you want to get this equipment, it's through the Ultimate Equipment Collection. Hopefully at the time you're watching this video, this is actually available, but you can go to the Ultimate Equipment Collection through the event, and then you can find where it says GT, and then you'll be able to get this platinum equip. Health restoration, double defense, strike, and then you get that here. This equipment here is really good if you can actually get the last slot valid. So you can see here strike defense, blast defense, and then on the last slot you have an option. So if you can get a melee type and you get it to 10%, you can get 10% pure. Whereas if you get the Super Saiyan 4 one, then you get strike attack. Now, if you can get it so that it's blast defense, that's pretty good because you'd actually be way tanky against any blast attacks. And the reason why that's especially effective is because if I change the tag here to actually go to GT again, and then I show you something that's very important. A lot of these units in the GT team carry one strike and one blast, and that makes it so that any GT teams you come up against, especially with GT being a very good team in the meta right now, would have quite a few blast darts that you'd be getting hit with, which actually just make your defenses that much better. If I just select a few, you can actually see here they carry one of each card, and I don't know why Legends does that. So for a lot of like the main hitters, when it's like it gives them an identity crisis when they're actually like should be leaning towards one team like every other tag in the game. This guy's luckily got 2 blasts, but you can see like G4, I pressed the tag 4s, and the 4Q here, they're the main 3 on the team, and they literally carry one of each card. What does 17 carry? Literally one of each card. So you can see there's a lot of variety, so having the blast defense would be good as well, even though most teams are melee based. So this equipment would actually be very valid. If you want to learn about the pure attack, the way I tell people about it is that pure, it comes without the base. So you can see here there's base blast defense, but on this part here it just says blast defense. That's because blast defense without the base is a multiplier, but the base is more like addition. But you know that if you want to multiply something and you want to get a bigger number, you already need to have a big number to start with, you know? So you're multiplying a big number, you get a bigger number, but if you're multiplying a small number, you won't get as big as a number, and that's common sense. So that's how you should think about it. So you need quite a bit of base blast defense to get the maximum out of the pure, which is what I'd suggest, which is why this equipment's pretty good. You can get in the equipment medal shop. Make sure to utilize that one there. This equipment here is specified for powerful opponent purples, and with so many Saiyans being dominant in the meta in almost every single celebration in Legend, they always drop a lot of Saiyans because literally Goku and Vegeta are the main characters in the show. You can do a lot of defenses against Saiyans. I already spoke about pures just literally before this, so you can see that it doesn't have base defense. That would never be the thing. So it's pure defense against Saiyans, and that's for all your defenses, which is very, very good. You also get 35% on the middle slot, and you get some HP to actually make you a lot more, basically you get a lot more endurance because you have more HP, which is very, very good. This is very good, very, very good equipped to build them extremely defensively against any of the Saiyans that you'd actually be fighting against. If you're not facing Saiyans, you actually miss out again on this first slot. But what's good to note is that there's no limit to this. Sometimes they put a time limit, like 15 timer counts on the actual equipments that have slots like this. But this is a very good one, and where you can get it is in the Ultimate Equipment Collection event, which is for powerful opponents and purples. It's not the easiest because it's a platinum equip. You'd have to waste a bit of energies on it, but it's not really a waste because you're trying to get what you want. But that's where you can actually get this equip, and I definitely recommend it. This one here is good because it gives you quite a bit of things that would actually keep you alive for longer. So you can see you get health restoration 10%, you get base strike defense 5 to 15%, and you get base health 5 to 10%. The health is really very good. But when you have health restoration on top of that, it means that the amount of health that you'd be able to regenerate to would be better than what you had previously, which is actually very, very effective. The defenses, strike defense, there's a lot of melee units. I've touched on this so many times. So you can see you can get a bit out of that as well. And where you get this is in the Z medal. I don't even have any of these, so I'm actually going to grind up one of these right now. Even though I don't have a lot, but hopefully I can get lucky. It's quite expensive as well, but especially with the Z2 medals being in the game, it's not easy to get some Z medals. But yeah, this will be very effective. Generally speaking, with health restoration, this guy here, you can actually potentially gain a lot of health if you've actually got base. You can see there's a lot of health restoration, restoring ally health. Very, very good at most parts. And you can see here on his unique ability, if I scroll down to the right part, here it is. Restores 30% of damage received after enemy attack is over. That's actually very effective for the health restoration, keeping them alive longer. But yeah, man, that's going to bring the video to an end. Hopefully this was very helpful. I did a video on the LF Super Saiyan 4 Goku and Vegeta, so I had to do one for this guy as well, because I feel like a lot of people would want to know how to build this guy. And he could have a bit of longevity as well, considering that he's a support type. People could use him on other teams such as Android, and maybe if Powerful Opponent really becomes very, very popular, you could actually see a lot of value coming out of that. But hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video. Hopefully it was useful, man. I put a lot of detail into these vlogs, so if you could press, I said vlogs because I'm looking at my camera, into these videos, man. If you haven't already, make sure to press that subscribe button, man. We are on this grind to 40,000 subscribers. All you guys' support on the channel, it really means a lot, man. All my social media is going to be in the bottom of the screen. There's the YouTube channel, we've got Twitter, Twitch, Reddit, Instagram, and a Discord link all in the description below. So make sure to check me out on all of those. But yeah, man, I appreciate you guys showing love and support on the channel. I live stream every single day, so if you want to tap into one of those, please be sure to do so. It's the best place to ask me anything. I'm going to leave it like that though, guys. I appreciate you guys for watching. My name's Zakashi, guys, and I'll see you guys in the next one, man.